All right. So thank you so much for joining me. I really am so excited about this class. And so our theme is inner and outer balance. And for me, when I think about achieving inner balance, I tend to immediately think about the highs and lows that we experience with PMDD, that there is absolutely this ebb and flow in our life. And that ebb and flow sometimes feels like a tug of my ego and my spirit, my highest heights as well as my depths, and my will and my fear. So things that I want to make happen, things that I need to allow to happen. And that inner balance is really difficult to strike. It's that interplay between light and shadow that we all walk as human beings, but especially as people with PMDD, we know that we really travel into those depths. And hopefully that also helps us to experience a little bit more of those heights. And so I take inner balance to mean the space between my expectations and what actually is, and trying to find a place where those are not necessarily at odds with one another. And so inner balance to me is relaxed, active awareness of everything that is shifting, because we know that everything shifts. Our seasons change, we age, everything is shifting. There is no one constant thing about the universe. And you may have heard me say this before, but as far as physicists can tell, there is no instance of infinity that exists. So truly, nothing lasts forever. Even our own universe will not last forever. And so that idea of this shifting and being comfortable in this shifting is what I believe to be inner balance. Outer balance can mean a lot of things. Outer balance can, of course, be our poses that we will be doing in our practice today. It can also mean work-life balance. It can mean a balance between how much we give and how much we receive. It can be a balance of our personal space and our professional space. It can be balance of how much time we spend alone or with others. And so there's all different ways we can think about outer balance. And so again, as someone with PMDD, we're likely to think of outer balance as being something that we are trying to achieve with a chronic illness that sometimes really takes us down. And so real quick, I would like to take just a moment to consider for the group, like as a community, what inner and outer balance may mean. And so let's just take a few moments, and you can either journal it yourself or just kind of sit and meditate on that question or on those questions. And we'll take just a couple moments afterward. If you would like to share, you would totally be welcome in sharing what that means to you. If you would rather keep that experience and what you come up with to yourself, that is also totally fine. And so as you also think about inner and outer balance, you may ask yourself the question, how do you know when you have achieved inner or outer balance? So let's take about a minute more here. Try to get down any last thoughts that you may have, and we'll have some time at the end of our class again to revisit this idea. And as you may feel complete with this journal prompt, if you feel so inclined to share, feel free to come off mute. All right, so when you feel ready, let's go ahead and we're going to start our practice by coming down onto our back body. And so I would recommend that you have something to support your head here, like your blanket or a pillow is fine. And we're just going to lie out flat. So you can kind of open up into a starfish shape if that feels good, taking your arms really wide beside you. Or if you prefer, you can bend your knees and place your feet on the floor. Finding a comfortable position resting on your back in a way where you feel supported and able to just relax and let go. As you come down to rest on your back, you may want to tuck your shoulders under your heart a little bit, kind of wiggling them down away from your ears. Let your palms turn open towards the ceiling, your thumbs pointing away from your body. And then just take a moment here to roll the head side to side, gently massaging the back of the head. You can rest on one ear and take a couple breaths into the opposite side of the neck if you like. Just becoming acquainted with your body resting on the floor. If it helps you to relax a little bit, you may want to tense your body and then release it, taking just a moment to squeeze into your muscles and activate them. And then with an exhale, release and let go. Thinking about more of your body coming into contact with the earth, finding greater softness, feeling a sense of being held in this position. As your sense of comfort and ease grows, take one last moment here to lift the head slightly, drawing the back of the neck long, pulling the crown of the head away from the collarbones, and then releasing the head back down so that the throat is open and that your neck is at its longest length. As you rest on the floor, observe your body breathing, feeling the gentle flow of the breath in and out. Noticing if the breath feels more comfortable through the nose or the mouth. Observing where you feel and experience the breath. Is it primarily in your chest? Can you feel it expand and widen the ribs? Can you breathe down deep into your belly, allowing the belly to rise with the inhale and softly fall with the exhale? In this moment, allow your awareness to be absorbed by your breath, noticing that in and out flow, able to happen on its own accord, and also possible to consciously control. See if you can strike that balance between encouraging length and depth in your breath, as well as allowing it to come easily and release easily. For our first practice of balance today, we'll find the balance between effort and ease with our breathing. Taking this opportunity now, observe your energy. Observing any room for activity or any deeper desire to rest. At the end of our practice, we'll check back in. Now beginning to lengthen your inhale, invite some small gentle movement into your body, wiggling your fingers and your toes, maybe working towards slightly bigger movements, circling your ankles and your wrists. You can move slow and easy, taking your time, maybe once again returning to rolling the head side to side. And as your movements are ready to grow, bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor. Again, moving intentionally, taking your time, start to drop the knees from side to side. Just swishing the knees back and forth from long edge of the mat to long edge, massaging your bottom and starting to stretch through the sides of your legs. Moving as much or as little as you like. Taking the legs together or one at a time. And then we're going to use our momentum to roll all the way over onto our left side. And take your right hand down to the floor beside your left rib cage. And now we're going to start to straighten our legs, lifting your head up now. Press into your right hand just a little bit. And we're going to take our left hand, so it's either a fist, or if your hand's comfortable, you can have it just above your ears. So we kind of have it holding just above the ear so that we have a little bit of pressure below the ear with the thumb. And as we straighten our legs out now, we're going to look down at our toes and stack one foot on top of the other. And we're going to work what's called Pada Bandha here, our leg lock. And so we're going to really actively pull the toes back towards our shin as we push out through the heels, almost locking our legs in place, like from our hip to our foot was all one thing. And now that right hand is going to serve to help balance us. So you can keep your fingertips on the floor if that feels okay. Or if your balance is feeling pretty awesome, maybe extend your right hand down your right leg. This is our side lying mountain pose, and it's deceptively difficult. So we're going to pull our belly towards our back, keep those legs really active here, and let the weight of your head rest in your hands if your neck starts to fatigue. Keep your chest broad, your shoulders pulled towards one another along your back body, and keep breathing slowly and smoothly. Let's take just 3 more rounds of breath. And then with your next exhale, we'll slowly take the right hand down to the floor if it's not already there. And again, you can come onto a fist if that's more comfortable. From here, we're going to just roll right over onto our belly. Taking our forearms to the floor, we'll take our elbows in towards the ribs, spreading your hands nice and wide, or bringing your hands into a fist and pressing into the pinky side of your hand. We're going to press down into our pelvis, thinking about pushing our hips into the earth. Squeeze your butt cheeks and press into your legs, and then lift your head up towards the ceiling as the heart draws forward into the space between your arms. Think about pressing down to lift up a little higher as you draw the shoulders away from the ears and lengthen through the neck. Again, keep the breath slow and steady here, finding that balance between effort and ease, letting the breath come and go as easily as possible. So with our Sphinx pose, let's take just a little bit of movement here. So with your exhale, you can slowly turn your head to look over your shoulder, maybe taking a glance back at your own booty. And then your inhale can slowly turn your chin back to center. And then exhale and look over the opposite shoulder. Keep the collarbone square here, so try not to dip the shoulder down as you turn the head, just turn through the side of the neck. Let your next inhale return you to center, and we'll exhale to slowly lower down onto our belly. Slide your palms back beside your hips, opening them to the earth, or towards the ceiling, excuse me, and let your chin, the cheek of your choice, come down to the floor, and we'll rest on our belly now. Breathing into your belly. See if you can slow your heart rate down if it has increased any. Relax the space between your shoulder blades. Let your bottom go slack. Let your legs become nice and heavy. Let the full weight of your body rest on the ground. Return to your slow, intentional breath. Let's take 2 more rounds. Fill yourself up and empty yourself out. And then with your third inhale, we'll slowly roll over onto our right side now. Taking your time, moving with care. The right hand can support underneath your head. You can use your fist curling in and just supporting above your ear. And then as you feel comfortable, start to straighten your legs. Thinking about taking your shoulders, hips, and heels in alignment, we'll once again engage what's called our leg lock, Pada Bandha, pulling our toes back towards the shin, pressing out through the heels, belly pulls towards back here, and then maybe that left hand comes up and helps us to balance by reaching towards the feet, or it can stay on the floor. And so as you rest here, notice if there's any difference between the left and the right side. Feel that balance between rest and activity, and effort and ease. Feeling the low abdominals, our transverse abdominis engage as we really hug the low belly towards the back. If it feels difficult in any way, can you allow the challenge to be? Can you feel the difficulty without judging it or punishing yourself? Let's take another big breath in. And then with your exhale, soften, and we'll slowly come onto our belly, bringing the forearms back to the floor once again. Turning to Sphinx pose once more. We'll make sure that our hips are evenly on the earth, the tops of our thighs flat to the ground, palms of the hands or the underside of the fist, the pinky side of the fist can press down into the ground. And let's lift even higher here. And so think about drawing your belly button away from your hips, pulling your heart forward towards the short end of your mat as the shoulders and elbows reach down towards the ground. Pressing into the legs, squeeze your butt here. We want to think about our legs helping to create that lift. And if you would like to move, feel free to move a little bit. Maybe inhaling the chin towards the ceiling or exhaling it towards your chest. Or again, turning side to side. You can move quick, you can move slow, just move intentionally. Wherever you are, let's take 3 more rounds of breath. Squeeze your buns. And then with your next exhale, release. Slowly come down to the floor. We'll take the opposite cheek to the ground this time, taking the hands back beside our hips once more. Releasing fully into the earth. Finding that difference of activity and rest. Complete softness here. Allowing any of the tightness in the low back to melt. If you would like, give your legs just a little bit of a shake and then release them to stillness once more. Feel your heart beating vibrantly against the earth. Just take one more big breath in and full, complete breath out. Now sliding your forearms back towards your hips. We'll push into our forearms and slowly lift the hips away from the floor. You can take your knees forward, taking them mat width distance apart. We'll take our bottom down onto our heels now. And then your hands can stretch forward towards the short end of your mat. Forehead can come to the ground, or you can place a block underneath it. Feeling the difference from our Sphinx pose to our child's pose now. Observing any changes that this creates in the small of your back. And allowing the breath to fill those areas. In our effort to achieve balance, we often think we need to be more rigid or to work harder. But often there's something we need to release, an expectation to let go of. What are you willing to release for peace? With your next inhale, you can slowly lift your belly off of the floor, sitting on your shins. Taking your shoulders over your hips now, you can bring your legs together here. And then go ahead and grab your blocks if you have them. We'll want both of them. All right, and if you are wearing socks, this is a good time to take off your socks too. And so what we're going to do here is first take your blocks slightly forward of your hands or of your knees under your hands. And now we're going to come onto our knees just momentarily and then tuck the toes under here and lift your knees off the floor. So we're almost taking our shin parallel to the ground. And now we'll take our blocks here and they're going to come underneath our knees to help us balance. And so you may have to play with the height a little bit. And you can also try it, of course, without the blocks. We're going to be balancing in our toe squat. And so this is really great for stretching the arch of our foot and increasing our foot strength. And then this is also a lot of core work. So we again want to think about drawing the belly towards our back, pulling the shoulders up over the hips, and squeezing the inner thighs together as though we had just one leg here. And so if you're feeling pretty balanced, you can keep your hands on the blocks underneath your legs or your hands on the blocks. If you want to, maybe take your hands to a prayer position. You'll find that that challenges the shins a lot, and there may be a little bit of movement. We know that whenever we balance, there is shifting. And so it's okay if the body has to move and adjust to keep you in place. If you need to take your hands down at any time, that's also totally allowed. Let's take one more breath wherever you are. And then with your exhale, take your hands down to the floor, take your knees slowly down to the floor, and we'll untuck our toes. And so this part's kind of fun. Lift your feet off the floor for just a moment here. And we're going to clap the bottoms of our feet together, giving ourselves a foot of applause. Good job, good job. All right, and so now take the shoelace part of the foot down to the floor, and we're going to take our bottom back onto our heels. And now your blocks can come beside you again here. Fist work if the hands are sensitive. And now we're going to just lift a little. So this is going to stretch the top of the foot. If both legs aren't going to come at the same time, totally okay. You can just try one at a time. Lifting one leg up, keeping the other anchored, you'll feel that stretch in the shoelace part of the foot and the shin. And it's okay if the legs don't come very high. This is a really awkward place to stretch that most people rarely ever address. So try it for just a moment. It's all right if the toes crack and pop a little bit too. If you're doing one side at a time, go ahead and switch sides. We don't have to stay here very long to get a lot of effect out of it. If it feels amazing and you're having no issues whatsoever, you can also take both legs off at the same time and practice this as a balanced pose as well. Totally not necessary. It's a place you can work to if, especially you're just experiencing a stretch there for the first time. And so wherever you are, let's take everything back down to the ground. And now from here, we'll take our blocks towards the inside of our legs, and we're going to move our knees really wide apart here, as far apart as you can get. This will probably be the most challenging thing we do today too. So once we get past this, smooth sailing. All right, so just like we did with our legs together, now we're going to try to balance with our knees much further apart, still in that toe squat. And so you can come forward again here, tuck your toes under, and we want to think about fanning the toe out. So try to get as much of your foot on the floor as possible. Your blocks can come to tower height now, and then we'll slowly lift the knees off. Your blocks can come underneath. It's okay if you have that assistance. It can come under your legs or under your hands. Are you doing okay? Okay. And so just doing the best you can here. If you want to try to take your hands off in the balance, you can do that. Thinking about pulling the knees open wide, we're really getting into the inner thigh and groin here and getting a lot of work into the arch of the foot. And so again, this is the most difficult balance that we'll do today. Let's just do 2 more breaths. If you want to, maybe take your hands off. You got it? Okay, with your next exhale, let's take our hands back down to the ground. Whew, that's a massive one. Okay, so we'll slowly take the knees back together and you can lower them back to the floor. And then the shoelace part of the foot can come back down. And so once again, we're going to stretch the top part of the foot here. It should feel a little bit easier because we've got a lot of awareness in our feet now. So again, one at a time, both together. It doesn't have to be very far. If you're up just a little fraction off the floor, you'll feel this stretch. And so know that it is fairly common if your foot's like, whoa, what the hell are you doing? That's fairly normal. It's quite common for our foot to cramp or to kind of just be like, this is different. You don't normally stretch me like this. And so just notice if that comes up, it's totally okay. In the case of a cramp, it's always a good idea to walk around a little bit, let it go. All right, let's go ahead and get off of our legs here. So from here, go ahead and lean forward for just a moment. Again, hands can come onto the blocks in tower height to make a fist. We're just going to tuck the toes, lift the knees. Feet are nice and wide here, so as much stance as you want, and we're just going to fold. So we have a nice wide-legged forward fold. Your blocks can help you reach the floor a little bit more comfortably if you like. And this is where we're just going to let it go. So you can sway side to side. Shake the crown of your head down towards the floor, letting the back of your neck be really long here. And you can sigh and swing, just releasing. If anything has felt unexpected or challenging, see if you can release your expectations about how your body should perform, or what your practice should be like, or what you're supposed to do, and let yourself play here momentarily. If you would like to, you can take your hands to opposite elbows and maybe reach the left elbow towards the inside of the right foot, bending the right knee and switching side to side, straightening the opposite leg, getting into that inner thigh and groin again. And then one last big sigh, release your arms, let it go. And keeping your chin tucked in towards your chest, soft through the knees, inhale and slowly roll up. Pull your belly towards the small of your back. Keep pushing into your feet, taking your time to rise. Chin stays tucked all the way to the very top. And then slowly take your chin parallel to the floor. All right, let's go ahead and move our feet back in. And so if you haven't practiced yoga with me before, we have all these movements where we're really intentional and we're very focused. So we also have to have times where we just shake and we're just loose and we let it all go. So go ahead and just shake what your mama gave you. Just let it all hang out. Shake out your legs. Shake out any bad karma you're carrying. Shake out anyone else's opinions of who you're supposed to be or what your life should look like. And then when you feel ready, I shook out some phlegm. When you feel ready, we're going to now stand in our power, collecting our mountain pose energy. So looking down at your feet, we want our feet to land approximately underneath our hips. Oftentimes that's about 2 fist width distance apart. So if you want to eyeball it or measure it out about into the space between your arches. And now go ahead and play with your toes again here. And now, I don't have a foot fetish, but our feet are extremely important in our yoga practice. When we are pressing our feet into the ground, this is the foundation of all of our poses. So go ahead and just lean back and forth into your foot. You should have a ton of awareness after our toe squats, maybe more than you're used to. And so coming onto the heels and onto the toes, and noticing the shin and the calves, muscles that we tend to just take for granted and not think much about. And then planting the feet back down onto the earth, lift all 10 toes and spread them out nice and wide. And then purposefully take your pinky toe, and then your 4th toe, and then your 3rd toe, and then the 2nd toe, and then your big toe down to the floor, pressing actively into the earth. And now go ahead and bend your knees and just notice that you're a bit spring-loaded here. And with the knees soft, we're going to engage once again what we call pada bandha, that leg lock. And so push really actively into the heels. And now think about a string drawing your kneecaps slowly up into your quadriceps as you push into the full strength of your legs. It should feel like your quads are all active and engaged, like the hamstring is even active here, squeezing all of your thigh muscle right around your femur bone. And this is your body, so feel free to touch it. If you want to explore how those muscles feel when they're engaged, by all means. And so as we push into the feet and carry that energy upwards through the legs, we also want to find it in our pelvis. So taking one hand to your pubic bone, take the opposite hand to your tailbone. And just take a moment here to notice if it's neutral. Oftentimes we tilt forward a little bit, taking the tailbone out at an angle behind us. And also sometimes we thrust the pelvis forward. And so notice for you where that feels neutral. If you can imagine the pelvis as a bowl where we wouldn't spill anything out of our bowl. This is really important for balance as well, because whatever happens at the base of the spine is going to affect what's happening in the upper body as well. And so finding the pelvis in neutral, start to activate your buns. And again, it's your body, so touch it. Feel your glutes activate a little bit. And then bringing your hands forward, feel the space between your hips slightly engage here. Again, that's the transverse abdominis. And we'll lift from the transverse abdominis into the belly button, and then up to the area of the solar plexus where the ribs meet at the front of our body. We'll push outward slightly there. Imagine it as though we could widen our rib cage, pulling the solar plexus a little bit away from our spine. And now finally, take your hands to your shoulders, and we'll pull the shoulders up towards our ears, and then with an exhale, round them back down and take your hands open beside you. Thumbs can point away from your body, crown of the head reaching tall away from the bottoms of your feet. Breath, slow and smooth. Maybe closing your eyes here. And feeling yourself from the inside out. Noticing where you're in contact with the floor, plugged in and connected. And then feel the reach through the crown of your head. Feel the openness of your heart. And the moment that you stand in as the present. As you stand in your power, fully connected, maybe with your eyes closed, notice how even here, there is that gentle shifting, always seeking center, looking for that balance. Begin to match the length of your inhale with the length of your exhale. And if it feels comfortable, bring the breath in and out through your nose, softening your tongue away from the roof of your mouth, sealing the lips, and feeling the breath flow intentionally through the nostrils. Maybe breathing in for a 4 count and out for a 4 count. We call this Samavriti pranayama, matching the length of the inhale and the length of the exhale. From here, let's take both of our hands to our hips. Start to shift your weight towards your left leg, taking the heel of the right foot off of the floor, bending that right knee. And now look along the horizon line in front of you, finding a point along the horizon where you can focus your vision. In Sanskrit, we call this our drishti, and this is our focus. Balance does require some focus. And so aiming your eyes at this position, press firm into the left foot, squeeze the transverse abdominis, and we'll inhale and lift the right knee so that it lines up with the right hip. We'll engage Pada Bandha here by flexing the toes of the right foot towards the shin and pressing out slightly through the heel. Inhale and stand taller through the crown of the head, lifting through the solar plexus and belly button. Keep matching the length of your inhale with the length of your exhale. And now with your next inhale, let's open the right knee out towards the long edge of the mat. You can take your right hand with it and keep opening it slightly, keeping the left knee, hip, and heel in alignment ideally. You got it. Keep your focus, keep your breath. With our next inhale, use your right hands to help your right leg come back to center. Take your right hand back to your hip, exhaling out. And then last time here, we're going to inhale and straighten our leg as much as you can. And then we'll exhale and slowly lower the right foot down to the floor. Stand back in your mountain pose and just momentarily notice the difference between your legs. Feel all of the activity that the left leg just did. Feel the commotion maybe a little bit of the psoas having worked so hard, our hip flexor on our right leg. And now shifting your weight to your right leg, take your left foot off the floor and just shake your bacon. You can turn the shoelace part of the foot down to the floor a little bit and just press into it some. All right, and then we'll come back to center if you need to just shake everything else out. And so you know what's going to happen now. You're prepared. It's likely that your right leg may be a little bit stronger to balance on if you are right-handed. If you're not, no worries. And so don't psych yourself up for this next round of balance. Know that you can do it and keep focused on your breathing. And so let's come back to our mountain pose, and you can just start by opening the legs, opening the feet, establishing how you're going to stand. And then coming back down, placing your toes very purposefully. Aren't your toes so fun? When we wear shoes all the time, we forget about them, but toes are amazing and they are very purposeful here. So spread them out, push them into the ground. And now we'll inhale and lift through the heart. Shoulders drop down away from the ears. Find your butt active here. Feel the base of your body engage around the pelvis. Match the length of your inhale with the length of your exhale. All right, let's join the hands at the hips. Lift a little higher, shift your weight into your right leg, and bend the left knee, taking the left heel off of the floor. Focus your vision very purposefully, looking right directly in your horizon line. Squeeze your belly towards your back, push into that right leg. Inhale, lift that left knee. Try to bring it in alignment with the left hip, toes flex, really active back towards the heel. Keep engaging your belly button towards your back and keep lifting through the heart. You got it. Keep that focus. With your next inhale, let's open the left knee out towards the long edge of the mat. And again, the left hand can travel with it. Maybe it's holding in front of the knee or underneath. That's okay too. You can help it out here. Good. And know that whenever we balance, you can stand next to a wall and touch your wall at any time. You could also have a block underneath your foot. That's all right. With our next inhale, let's take our leg back to center. Slide your hand back to your hip. With your next inhale, we'll extend our left leg out and exhale to slowly lower it back to the ground. Now again, stand on both feet here. Feel the difference between your legs. Notice what's happening in that left hip flexor. Notice how strong that right foot feels, how really cemented into the earth it may feel. And then switching your weight to your left leg, shake out your right. Good, and you can push into the shoelace part of the foot a little bit. All right, and so now we're going to work our traditional tree pose, which should feel pretty easy after doing those. That's part of what's called the Padagustasana series. We did it a little bit differently, but it's our hand to foot series. And so good job on that. That's very challenging. Now doing our tree pose, we'll start in mountain pose once again. And we'll shift our weight into our left leg, lifting the right heel off of the floor. And now our first variation is the right heel to the inside of the left ankle with the right knee outwardly, externally rotating. Or you may want to pull that right foot up just below the left knee. Or if it's in your practice, you may want to take the right foot above the left knee. And again, we're still externally rotating. So opening into this inner thigh and groin, turning the right leg out towards the long edge of the mat. And the foot presses into the leg and the leg presses back into the foot. Your hands can join at your heart center, or you can grow your tree branches if that feels more comfortable. Again, focus your vision. And if you feel like you have to shift and move, remember trees blow in the breeze. Trees also sometimes fall down and trees regrow. It's okay to be wherever you are in your practice. Let's take one more full breath. And then with your exhale, slowly lower your hands and then your leg, coming back down to the ground. Shifting into your right leg, shake out your left a little bit. Shoelace part of the foot can come to the floor. And then same thing, we'll set up our mountain pose again because we have to be able to stand on 2 feet before we attempt to stand on 1. And then standing tall through the heart and the crown of the head, we'll shift our weight into the right leg, heel of the left foot lifts. And then our first variation is the left heel to the inside of the right ankle, up above, up onto the calf, just below the knee. And then just above the knee, pressing into the inner thigh. And again, the knee is externally rotating in all of these, just like it did in our wide-legged toe squat earlier. We want to think about getting into the inner thigh and groin. Vision stays focused, hands can come to the heart or overhead, or even out nice and wide. And again, notice those oscillations. Notice the micro adjustments the right foot needs to make in order to help you stay nice and balanced. We are always adjusting and shifting. There's always change. One more big breath. And then with your exhale, slowly release your arms and your legs, coming out of the pose with control, bringing the left leg back to the floor. You can shake out the right. You can press into the shoelace part of the foot. All right, my beautiful friends. This is our last major balance pose. And this is probably the second hardest pose we're going to do. And this is what we would consider our peak posture for this practice. And so from where you are, you can stay where you are. I'm going to turn so that you can see my side profile. We'll start with mountain pose once again, standing really tall and strong, squeezing through the pelvis, active through our buns, pressing into our feet. Inhale and extend your arms out, reaching up. Interlace your hands together up overhead, keeping just the index finger and thumb straight. So Charlie's Angels hands. And so keeping the shoulders down away from the ears, we're going to inhale again, pull the left knee in towards your chest. Exhale, and we're going to start to push our left foot back as we reach our fingertips forward. Straighten out through the left leg, engaging Pada Bandha here once more, pulling the toes towards the shin, pressing out through the heel, long through the legs, long through the arms. You can touch the wall at any time for help, or if you have your chair near you, you can also have your chair right in front of you to tap on. and help with the balance. Take one more full breath. And then with your exhale, slowly take your hands back to heart center and land your left foot back onto the ground. Those are hard. Shake out your right leg. And so I'm going to bring my chair into the mix so that we have that variation as well. So last one here, standing in front of your chair or with your wall beside you. We'll inhale, extend your arms out, reach up. And now this time, as you interlace your hands, take the opposite grip. So if you normally hold your hands one way, try the other way, because we do have multiple ways we can hold our hands. And now inhaling to lift the right knee in towards your chest, flex your toes towards your shin. And then we'll exhale, slowly tip forward. Right foot reaches back, left hand reach or hands reach forward. If you have your chair, take your left hand down to the chair as you reach your right foot away and your right hand away. Keep your weight slightly forward so that your hip stays over your knee and your heel. Keep pushing out through the length of the right leg. Let's take one more breath in. You got it. Exhale and slowly come down. Right foot lands back on the floor. You can shake it out. Great, thank you so much for working so hard. That was all the worst of it. You can go ahead and come down onto your bottom. Okay, so from here, just grab your blanket and we're going to come onto it to sit. And then extend your legs out. You can take your hands back behind you momentarily here. You can even come down onto your forearms again if you want to stay off your hands, and just shake the crap out of your legs. Now that there's no weight on them, thinking about letting the muscle all the way up to the thigh being loose. Should feel good. All right, and so then when you're ready, come back up. We're going to pull our left knee in, and then taking your right hand around your left ankle, we'll bring the foot to the inside of our thigh, just like we were doing with tree pose earlier. And now if your inner thigh and groin here is very tight, take your block underneath your leg. So if your leg is kind of hanging here in space, instead of just letting it hang, support it, bringing your block underneath it. You can angle your block slightly too so that it's on the flat side and not digging in. And now turning towards your right leg, hands can come to the floor. We'll inhale and lift up through the heart. Fingertips can press into the ground. And then we're going to exhale and fold over the right leg, letting the shoulders soften down away from the ears, just rounding through the spine, drawing the heart downward. The crown of the head can reach downward. Shoulders slide away from one another, just getting into the back of the leg and getting a really juicy stretch here. And so no worries if you can't reach your feet. That is not necessarily our goal. Instead, think about maybe pulling the arms back a little bit more and letting the heart lead, taking the heart forward a little bit further with each inhale. And then with each exhale, think about softening through the low back a little further, taking yourself slightly closer to your leg. Again, checking in with yourself. Where is your breathing? Do the lengths of your inhales still match the length of your exhales? Taking fingertips to the floor once again. Inhale and slowly press back up to seated. You can take your block out from underneath your leg, helping it to come back to center, and we'll straighten it out. Switching so that the right leg can come in now, right hand underneath right knee, left hand on the outside of the right ankle, and we can guide it to the inside of the left thigh. And then again, block can come underneath the leg here, and you can take it onto the broad side so that it's supportive and not kind of pushing into your skin. And now fingertips can frame your left leg. Inhale, heart lifts up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, heart draws forward, folding over your leg. Releasing the shoulders, releasing the back of the neck. Breathing space down the back of your leg. You can gently rotate your head side to side. And again, as you check in with yourself here, maybe take a moment to just notice what you're experiencing and see if you can allow that answer to come from your body more so than your mind. Let's take 2 more full rounds of breath. Enjoying the stretch, enjoying the peace of stillness. Noticing how even here there is the ebb and flow of effort and ease. Taking your fingertips to the floor, inhale and slowly come up to seated. We'll use our right hand to gently press our right leg back to center and extend it out. Now we have one more thing to do before we can come down onto our back body. And so that is if you have a strap. If you don't have a strap, it's not totally necessary. I actually was going to do something different at the beginning that I decided not to, that would have been totally necessary for the strap perhaps. But this will be a nice bonus for us. And so if you have one, we want to make it into a circle. And so mine's very, very long. Yours doesn't have to be quite as long. But what we want to do is we want to make it into a small circle that we're going to use later to support our calves, but it'll be easier to put together now before we're lying flat on the floor again. All right, and so once you have that, you can go ahead and set it out of the way for the next moment. And grab your blocks, and we want our blocks on either side of our mat now. From here, go ahead and lie back down onto your back. We're going to use our blanket to support our head once again. And then we'll bend the knees and take the soles of the feet together and the knees wide open towards the long edges of the mat. Your blocks are going to come underneath your legs to support you here. And then with an inhale, stretch your arms back behind you. You can interlace your hands back behind you, maybe holding opposite fingertips or just below the wrist, or maybe you can hold your upper arm. Think about the shoulders softening down underneath you. Even with the arms extended, the neck should stay long, almost as though you were making the infinity symbol with your body here. Relaxing into the pose, taking once more this opportunity to consider infinity, knowing that pieces of you are gathered from the whole of the universe. That you are connected to something much greater, and that in this moment, it is enough for you to simply be. Move your awareness through your body and notice if there are any areas where you're holding on. You may feel gripping in the inner thigh or groin, in your glutes. There may be tension between your eyebrows, or your tongue may be pressed to the roof of your mouth. See if you can allow these spaces to soften, allowing every molecule of your being to relax and release. We have one more pose left. So taking this moment to deepen your breath one more time, inviting this awareness of how you're feeling to give you enough energy to move one last time. We'll now practice our waterfall pose. And so using your hands to push your legs back together to release from your bound angle. We'll use this opportunity to grab our chair. You can roll over onto your side and come up to sit. And again, if you don't have a chair, an ottoman can work, or your coffee table, anything that will be supportive of your shins. And if you don't have that just yet, you can also use your 2 blocks stacked and try to keep your calves up onto the block. And so we want to think about taking the strap and using it to make a mermaid tail. And so we're going to cinch our calves together and then scooching your bottom towards your chair, take your legs up so that the calves are supported onto the seat of the chair. And then we'll lie down back on the floor. The heels may hang off the edge of the chair or the coffee table or whatever it may be that you're using. But we'll allow the legs to just really relax and soften because the strap will hold them comfortably into place. And so this will be our finishing pose, our Shavasana. And you can take as long as you need to get set up. If it would feel most comfortable for you to have some socks on or a sweater, you can go ahead and cozy up at this time too. And so we'll complete our practice with 3 releasing breaths. Taking a big full breath in through your nose. And then opening your mouth and sighing it out. We'll do that twice more. Deep full breath in. Exhale, audibly sigh it out, hot and heavy. Last one, big, full, encompassing breath. Exhale, let it go. At this time, release control over your breath. Allow the body to breathe you and simply become the one who watches. Relax, release, and let go. I will let you know when it's time to return. Be at peace. Slowly begin to deepen your breath, observing how your body feels, noticing where your mind may have been, if anywhere at all. Become acquainted with a sense of relaxation, knowing that this is a place you can return to. It belongs to you. It's yours. Once again, starting to move slowly and intentionally, wiggling the fingers and the toes. And as you're feeling ready, you may want to pull your knees in towards your chest and slide your strap off of your legs. With your knees hugged in towards your chest, feel free to give yourself a hug here, maybe rolling slightly side to side, massaging your back body. And then rolling over onto the side of your choice, resting in the fetal position. You can use your arms or your blanket to support your head. Taking this opportunity to feel deeply grateful for your body. Deeply grateful for the time you made today to practice yoga. Deeply grateful for your being. Deeply grateful for this life in which we can strive for balance in. Pressing into your top hand now, slowly come up to a seated position. Sitting on top of your blanket or in your chair or on top of your blocks, lifting your pelvis in some manner here. One foot can come in front of the other, or the ankles can cross, or your feet can press into the floor from your chair. We'll join our hands in front of our heart. Again, recognizing the feeling that we've created during our practice. Maybe noticing the warmth in our hands, the feeling of completeness throughout our body. Touching the thumbs to the forehead, reminding us to live with an open mind. And touching the thumbs to our heart, reminding us to love with an open heart. It's been my honor to guide you through your practice today. We can acknowledge one another with Namaste. All right. And so taking a moment again here to kind of collect, and we can return to those questions that we had at the beginning of our practice of what balance feels like. So we had an opportunity to experience some balancing in our body, and hopefully there may be some new ideas introduced as to how we can perceive balance. And so in particular, I would like you to consider now how you are resilient in those shifts. And checking in with how balance is a practice. And so we'll take just a moment more. And of course, you are free to add anything else you would like to after we are no longer together. I did want to provide an opportunity for you to share any feedback that you may have about your experience with the practice, or any thoughts that came up, or anything just kind of that maybe shifted for you, anything that you felt comfortable sharing. Anyone want to say anything?
Hi. Um, it's so funny. It just brought up this, I guess throughout the practice, but just then, at the end, this sense that, we can be these like ever shifting, ever changing beings, and you know, we can bend and we can sway, and sometimes maybe we can even break, but like our roots are steady, and we can always keep growing. And I think that's probably what I'm going away with, which is really lovely. Thank you.
Good, good. Yay, I'm so glad. And how do you feel physically?
Yeah, I feel good. I had like some backache when I was just fully on my back, which was really unexpected because I very rarely get it, but sometimes it happens. But um, like I feel good now. Like I really enjoy like the so tree pose is my favorite.
Good.
So that would be nice.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I feel good and like quite strong, which is lovely. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Lovey, did you have anything you wanted to share? It's okay if you don't, so no pressure.
I only was I feel I was excited that I was able to do those foot stretches in the beginning because
Yeah.
it's been years since I've been able to do any of those with my foot. So I was like pretty proud of myself. I was like, wow, I'm stronger than I thought. So that was really nice. It is an interesting practice of trying to find balance when I'm in pain from stuff that created myself. So it's definitely I'm proud of myself for how I was able to like still be present with everything that I have going on with myself. And yeah, so I'm excited about that. I was completely stumped by the question of like how do you achieve balance, because I was like, do you like, I mean, like I feel like it could be like a second worth of achievement, like yeah, I'm balanced, and then it could be thrown off the next.
Yep.
But just giving myself like credit when I do find balance in both inner and outer balance.
Yeah.
Um, and then it just because you achieve it once doesn't mean that it's like always there, and that is a consistent practice to do.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's just like our cycles that we flow in and out of. I mean, even though the depths suck, I mean, we know they suck, but they're never permanent. And then we come back out, and then that's not permanent either, and we go back in. So it's, I think, making peace with the fact that there are these transitions, and we can do something with both of them. So both the depths and the highs, they serve us in some capacity, especially if we're not always at odds with them, but kind of flowing and shifting with them a little bit, and managing our expectations around what we can do where we are. So, celebrating and being proud of what we do accomplish and what does come out of us, and also being really, really self compassionate and full of grace about what we find difficult or where our obstacles may be. So good. I'm so thrilled. I feel like you both were really connecting to what my intention for the practice was. So I'm so super grateful. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. Sorry, instead I just turned myself off because I don't know how to use Zoom.